Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to be building a habitat for the Himalayan brown bear in Mrs. T-Rex's community zoo again. So if you didn't know already, Mrs. T-Rex has a community zoo on her Discord channel that you can take part in and build kind of like habitats for. There's still a lot of animals to choose from left. The theme is tiger theme, and it's being like divided up with like the biomes. So if you're interested in that, I'd go check that out because that's really cool. And that's kind of what I'm building here. So I've got 5 habitats to build. This is the second of 5 to build, and the first one obviously was my sun bear habitat, which you'll have just seen. So yeah, this is my brown bear habitat. Now obviously we're still going with the Asia theme here, and I've wanted to continue this lovely kind of wooden, like rustic kind of a deal that we've kind of got going on in this part of the zoo. It merges very well with the tiger theme as well, which I just love this. I'm just loving how it's all coming together now. So here we have me kind of building like the fences for this area. So I wanted them to be a very similar height to the glass walls that I built. I copied and pasted the glass walls from the sun bear habitat just to try and keep some consistency with this area. And then I build these kind of wooden fences just to try and, again, complete the area, make it feel like it kind of flows, and is like almost kind of a mini zoo within the zoo, I guess. It's like, you know, the Asia Trail. So yeah, this is all Arctic pieces. As I've mentioned before, I use the Arctic pieces for wooden buildings because animals that can climb can't actually climb the Arctic pieces, which is nice because I really appreciate the fact that, you know, there are some wooden pieces in the game that you can build with, because a lot of the wooden pieces are unfortunately climbable. So it'd be nice if Frontier could provide us with some more climbable wooden pieces in the future. But yeah, so this whole area is a lot of rock work as well. Like, there's a lot of rock work going on. As you'll have seen with the sun bear habitat, there was a lot of rock work there, and the rock work doesn't stop. So I was just trying to smooth it out, get it kind of looking right. It's kind of like a steppe kind of environment that we have over here. Like, you know, it's very like mountainous and rocky, and I was just trying to convey that really with the landscape and the terraforming. I wanted the Himalayan bears to look like they belong there, and essentially this is where we're at really. So once we do the kind of outer fencing, I then start looking at kind of like the rest of the habitat as well. There's this kind of little viewing area, which is this nice little viewing circle here. I usually try and do all the path work first. I've mentioned this before, because if I can get the path work done first, then that means essentially you can then plan the rest of like your habitat around it as well, and it just works a lot better if you do the pathing first. So I knew that I wanted like to be able to go a little bit more into the habitat, but I didn't really know kind of like how much. So it was a good start really there. And then once I sort of worked out the habitat boundaries, I decided to start work on the castle. So this is actually the worst version of the castle. I decide to take this elsewhere and take it into my structure building zoo, which is just some flat land, and I use it purposefully for building structures. So I was working out how to do this. I knew the effect that I wanted to kind of create. I wanted to have like these kind of ramparts. But it just wasn't working out with what I'd built, and I really didn't like it. So I decided that, you know what, let's take this away from the terrain. Let's go take this to my structure building zoo, and we'll go from there. Which because it was just too difficult to try and see what I wanted, if you know what I mean. Sometimes, you know, the terrain can get in the way, the rest of the habitat can get in the way, and you just can't really focus on what you want to build. So to build this, I actually started off building like a kind of functional structure piece that I could then copy and paste. So this is the walkway, and this is kind of the castle wall, I guess. So I built it like with the Asia pieces because we're still going for the Asia theme. Like, this castle is kind of like a classical Asia mix. It's a very weird one. I didn't really know what I was doing with it. I just started building, and I really do like how it's turned out. This is on the Steam Workshop. You can find the link below if you're curious if you like it when it's finished. So yeah, essentially I was just building like these pieces that I could then copy and paste, and then I could copy and paste them and like kind of connect them together to create this kind of castle wall effect, because obviously, you know, castle walls are not small, they're very thick and chunky, so I was trying to convey that with what I was building. And you know, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I think it actually looks really, really cool. And obviously, again, if you're looking at like traditional castles as well, they often had like a lot of stone and wooden beams as well, so it was like stone walls with wooden beams and supports, and that was just kind of the theme I was going for, like almost like a Viking, Nordic, perhaps even medieval castle, but with some kind of Asia like undertones, just to try and make it feel like it fits with the rest of the zoo. So the good thing about this is that you can kind of just copy and paste it, and you can just delete the parts, so it is actually kind of workable. You could probably put a path on this if you wanted to. I haven't for like the purpose of this video, but if you wanted to use this in your own zoos, you could definitely put paths on it. It's, you know, 4 meter path at the top there. It'd be absolutely gorgeous in like one of your zoos. So yes, this is the sort of entrance, and then I decided we want some kind of towers here. So again, I'm using those lovely pieces for the Asia pieces for this. It does work really, really well. And then again, I was just making like stone bases, because often, you know, these are the foundations that your castle is built on. So I wanted to kind of, you know, convey those foundations, and then I just copied and pasted the rest of it over, and then we had 2 towers. Now this was a bit of a fun bit, trying to get the roofing on, because it didn't line up properly, but I managed to in the end. It was a bit of a faff. This whole castle was a bit of a faff, I guess, really. So yeah, the reason I went for the castle as well is because I figured, well, you know, most zoos and things, like particularly in the UK, are actually based like around like, you know, manor houses and things. I mean, for example, you know, Longleat Safari Park, you've got Longleat Manor House there, and usually, like particularly like the old ones, even Chester Zoo's got a bit of a manor house on it as well. Like, it's not really a traditional manor house in that sense, but it does have like, you know, the typical British housing, when it used to be like the really rich people used to just bring in like wildlife from all over the world and just kind of keep it, because why not? So yeah, that's kind of why I decided on a castle, was because I figured it would just be a nice addition to this area of the zoo. It would kind of create a nice boundary area at the edge of the Himalayan bear habitat that separates off the main mountain for the tiger biome, and it just really, really like complements the area. I think it actually looks like it belongs, which is what I was after. So yeah, so with these like wall bits, I was just trying to line them up. I actually didn't like having just like empty walls, so I do this with any kind of towers that I build. I like to chunk them out a bit and make them a bit more chunky and make them look like there's a bit more to them than just a circular structure. Because I did struggle a little bit trying to get, you know, those circular structures looking how I wanted them to, and they were just very, very difficult to deal with and get looking good. Now, in hindsight, this whole like castle is probably like very strange dimensionally. It's like not very nice dimensions. It's not very square. It's more of like a rectangle, which I do have to change. I have to cut out a very large section of the castle for the habitat, because it doesn't fit in the area that I wanted it to. But for the most part, it, you know, it's a big castle. It's really big. Like, it doesn't look that big, I guess, here, but you'll see it when it goes in later on that it is massive. I don't really know what I was doing here. I was just trying to add some kind of decoration bits to it. I actually didn't really like this bit of the castle very much, just because I thought it was a bit boring and bland. If I build a castle like this again, and I probably will actually, because I really enjoyed building this, and I'd like to build something else like this. I do enjoy the theming of the builds and stuff like that. I'm particularly enjoying the theming of this Asia section we've got going in this zoo. That I think it'll be really, really good to just kind of, you know, do something a bit more with the buildings and have them a bit more like jaggedy and not just a big square block, which is basically what this one is. So yeah, you can see that was just ended up being like a square block with a bit of an Asia roof on it, just to try and give it like an Asian palace kind of a theme. Often Asian palaces are very, very big chunky buildings anyway, and yeah, I was trying to merge too much together, I think, with this one. It didn't quite work. But at the end of the day, you know, you live and learn, and now I know next time. So this is a rampart that / bridge walkway that I started building. Again, I'm not entirely happy with how this turned out, but at the same time it does fit the purpose that I wanted it to. And like, if I did it again, I'd probably build the towers a lot taller than they are and just make it like a lot squarer and stouter but taller, because I think often in this game, you know, very tall narrow things look better than very chunky wide things. I mean, we see that with my the Narnia build that I did, was, you know, the palace towers looked very, like, a lot nicer, kind of chunkier, like, well, not chunkier, but like chunkier at the base and then like going kind of narrower with like the ice chunks. So that's kind of what I'm trying to kind of replicate here, I guess, but it doesn't do it quite so well because it's not quite so fantasy like. So yeah, again, there's definitely room for improvement on these kind of things. It's been really fun just building it completely from scratch, just because, again, like, I'm getting better at building things from scratch. I feel like once you hit that 1,000 hour like mark with Planet Zoo, that you just end up like starting to build everything from scratch because you realize the limitations of the pieces, which is kind of what I'm feeling here, really. I'm feeling that the pieces are like getting I'm getting to the limits of what I can do with like just the square pieces, and that, you know, a lot of what I'm going to be building in the future is probably going to be more custom built completely like from scratch, which I'm actually enjoying a lot more. It is a faff, but yeah. So anyway, here you can see me making some modifications to try and fit this awful castle in. As you can see, it's just too long. If I'd made it like kind of chunkier instead of like wider, I guess, or made it like, you know, more stout, it would have probably fit better, but it is what it is. And at this point, I didn't want to like have to rebuild the whole thing. So yeah, this is what we got, I guess. This is what we're working with. I still wanted it to fill out that area though, and I think one of the things I do like about it is that you can see it from various parts of the zoo. So it's like kind of representing, I guess, that, like, you know, that, or like it's like a silhouette on the horizon that you can see from different areas, and it's just a landmark, really. And I feel like maybe, you know, this was built around some Nordic kind of castle royalty or something like that, you know. Maybe it adds a story to the zoo. The story is not for me to decide, but I just thought it'd be a very interesting feature. So as you can see, I'm putting in some more rock work here, continuing those kind of edge themes. Now, I've actually left a gap there, so if anybody does decide to build like next in the zoo and they want to build some Asia animals, I've actually marked out 2 kind of areas if they want to just add animals to this Asia trail, just because again, I think, you know, the mods, they've really wanted to try and keep this zoo like feeling like a zoo and keeping it flowing and keeping it organic. So I thought, well, if I put those 2 gaps in there, they're kind of gaps that I hadn't planned for anyway, and they were just empty space, then if somebody wants to add to the trail and not have to worry too much about doing the whole scaping thing, then there's like an easy spot for them to put some habitats in there, and they can do what they like with it, build a building, whatever. I'd love to see what people do with it. So that's kind of why I've marked those spaces there, just because I wasn't using them, and yeah, it'd be nice to try and make this zoo kind of flow together a lot more. So I do kind of just break a hole in the wall there for the bears to go in, because I was worried they wouldn't have enough shelter. Turns out they have plenty of shelter. In fact, they can climb, because obviously I've made it, I was hoping they wouldn't be able to because I'd embedded the wood in the rock enough, but it turns out that the bears can actually climb like the walls of the castle and get onto the ramparts, which is kind of cool to see them resting up there. But at the same time, apologies whoever takes the zoo next, that you're going to have problems with bears escaping. Yeah, so now we're just getting onto the plant work now. We're kind of coming to the end of the actual speed build, I guess, as well now, now that we're actually putting the habitats together. Again, I wanted to continue, you know, the tiger theme we've got going on, merge in like the woods theme that we had with the sunbear habitat, and that's just going to be running throughout this entire area that I'm building. And yeah, so I really look forward to seeing what other people build, and you know, I really hope some people do kind of build some more landmark kind of buildings as well, build, you know, like some really cool stuff. Like, it'll be really cool to see. And yeah, just adding some kind of shelters in, some climbing areas, you know, the scratching tree, and just, you know, making sure they've got everything they need, because, you know, we want happy Himalayan bears, we don't want sad Himalayan bears. They're actually called Khan and Queenie, which Khan actually translates to king, if I'm correct. So we have the king and queen of the castle, and some of the other things they built as well actually for this, which I don't know if they're recorded. I can't remember if I recorded them or not. I actually made like a little tour area so that guests can go for tours in the castle if they wanted to, and just things like that, just to try and finish off this area. Like, I'm trying to make it feel like a complete zoo. Obviously we're continuing with the blossom, because, you know, the cherry blossom is what's marking the Asia Trail, and here we are with the cinematics. So I will leave you guys now to enjoy the cinematics and enjoy the bears running around in their habitat, because they really do like it. I'm super pleased with how this turned out, and try not to look too much to the right in this, because there is a little bit of a dole habitat that's just sneaking in there, because that's not the next one but the one after that, that's just kind of sneaking in on the right there. So try to ignore that. That's not there. Anyway, take care guys, and I will see you in the next one. Toodaloo.